Hello everyone. We have such a wonderful, it's my favorite online community. I can tell you that because you guys are just so wonderful at chatting with each other. Yes, I just forgot to plug my microphone in, so it should be all good now. All right, so if you missed what I was saying before, I am going to be working on this welcome sign project. I'm going to be trying to work some magic and make the welcome jump through this hydrangea wreath. Can I do it? Stay tuned for that. So a little St. Patrick's Day, well, I'm going to sort of change it up a bit. It's not going to be St. Patrick's Day themed sign here. I'm going to trick you all, but we're going to be using our St. Patrick's Day gnome and gnome transfers. So I can see a few things on there that we could use for other stencil ideas, but there are only a few of this transfer set left. So if you would like to do something like I'm going to work on today, you'll want to grab these. Now the links are always in the description of the live, and then Essential Stencil will always post them in the pinned comments there at the top, so you can just quickly go and grab yours and put it in your cart and you know, grab a hold of those, and as well as the other transfer sets that we'll be doing today. All right, so let's do our other project first, using these St. Patrick's Day transfers, because I love them. There's so many cute things on here. There's clovers, there's a pot of gold, there's rainbows, green, little green swoosh. You could just use that for anything. A green gift, you could use that for anything. Today, I'm going to be using this green car. So I thought, I don't have to use that for St. Patrick's Day sign. I could look ahead to Father's Day coming up in June. And I know for some of you, oh, that's so far away. But for some of you who like to create the signs for those seasons to put them in your market stalls, then you will want to grab a hold of this idea. I'm going to be using this set. Best Dad Ever 3-pack mini set. Yes, I see that some of you are eagerly awaiting the shipment next week of your spring stencils and your honeybee stencils. I'm so excited for you. Now these, there's 3 in the set, so there's Happy Father's Day, there is I Love You Dad, and then there is Best Dad Ever. So you can do this idea on a card or on a board, like I've pre-painted here, just using an off-white color. It's just a bit of plywood, and I'm creating a sign out of that today. So this is our first project. I'm doing 2 projects today, so I think for this sign, out of those 3, I'm going to use this, I Love You Dad. We're going to pop that on our sign, but I'm also going to show you how to do a transfer. Let me bring the camera down. Hello, Charlene. And I'll try and catch a lot of your comments while I'm live over here on my laptop, but I don't always see all of them. But I do like to go back at the end of the live and answer any questions that you might have on stenciling or using the transfers. So please feel free to ask all the questions. As well as that, we do have a beautiful community of stencilers right here. Some of them have been stenciling for years in the comment section, and they will also probably have some tips for you as we go along. So because I'm going to be using this green car, and this is from the St. Patrick's Day transfer, rub-on transfer set. So you can go to the Essential Stencil site and look for that, or you can just use the link that is in the description of our live. And what we want to do with our transfers is cut out the piece that we'll be using. I also thought this little green car would be cute for a little boys' room, a sign for, you know, a baby's nursery, something like that. Especially if you love the colour green. I think it's very cute. All right, so I've cut that piece out. Now these transfers are available by themselves, or there is, if you look up St. Patrick's Day, oh, I've got that upside down. If you look up St. Patrick's Day bundle, there's actually, Essential Stencil has put together a bundle of St. Patrick's Day transfers and St. Paddy's Day, we call it St. Paddy's Day. Do you call it that over there? Stencils as well. So there's stencils and transfers all in that one bundle, bundled together at a discounted price. So grab hold of that today. Okay, and this is the Father's Day. It's the Best Dad Ever set is what we're using today. So I've cut out my transfer, and this is where I'm going to be putting it on my sign, and I don't know if you can see that. Yes, I've got I love you, Dad. The gnomes are so cute. Yes, you could absolutely use all of these gnomes and things for St. Patrick's Day signs, but today I'm using it for a Father's Day idea, or maybe you just want to send a message to Dad and say I love you. You can do that too. So I'm placing them down around about where I want them, and I'm going to do my stenciling first, and then I'll show you the transfer. And if you've just joined me, stay tuned, because after this I'm going to try and do a magic trick and make this word welcome jump through the hydrangea wreath right there. So let's see if my magic trick works. There's one piece of tape to... Now you could use these stencils for saying I love you and then make your own word here. The other thing I thought I'd mention, you could do this idea with this Nana and Papa pack as well, and you could have a best Papa ever and pop that with your green car also. The other idea that I had here was the home 6-pack set would also work great for a fun car theme. Let's stay home instead of driving out. Let's stay home. Home sweet home, or what is the other one? Oh, that's a 6-pack. Our nest. We've got our happy place. This is us. It could just be a fun sign using any of those. All right, so I'm going to let's use our 5/8 inch stencil brush today, and I'm just going to be using some Fusion's Coal Black. It's a nice true black, and it just will really stand out against this background here today. So what we have to do first of all is to offload our brush as much as we can. Good evening, Helen. How are you? Okay, so we know that that's going to sit right there. We've got our stencil in place. I've offloaded the brush as much as I can. It's better to have less on your brush. It's almost dry, but not quite fully dry. So then we're just going to I use a bit of a swirling method. I'll just pop this down a little bit further in the shot there. If you're on your mobile phone, you can turn that sideways and see probably a little bit clearer. Although if your comments are in the way, you can usually swipe left or right to remove the comments off there. But if you want to join in the conversation, you might want to keep them on. Okay, offloading again. Didn't have a lot on my brush, so I only got 1 and a bit letters done. But it's better to have not much on your brush rather than too much, because if we have too much paint on the brush, we cause fuzzy edges, we cause what we call bleed underneath the stencil. So I'm just going slowly. Might dip a little bit more in my pot, wipe it off on the edge, and then we're working it into the bristles. Whoop. Feel like that was a little bit watery. That's the other point I like to make too when we're stenciling, is to make sure you're using a very dry brush. If your brush has just been washed out, then it may still be a little bit too wet to stencil, because it thins down the paint and creates, again, bleed underneath. So I like to use the Fusion paints, but mainly because you can use any acrylic, water-based paints are best, but use the really good quality craft paints that have a fairly good thickness to them, so nothing that's too thin, like sometimes the children's craft paints are a little bit too thin. So we've got lots of different ideas that you could use to add to this. I'll pop my card down there so you can get an idea of what we're going to be doing next. If you've just joined us, let us know where you're watching from. I always like to know. Trying to catch comments on the side here. Mississippi, Bonnie's from Mississippi. Yes, Debbie, offloading is the key. I've got a little bit, way too much on the brush, but see, we just offload it there. And going on to our letter D. Sometimes it works to have, I was talking before about if your brush is wet from washing it, That's where it sometimes helps to have a few sets of brushes so that you've got some extra on hand, because they really do have to be really dry, very dry. Okay, we've finished. Rose from Florida is in the house. Marianne from Eastern Shore, welcome. Tammy's from Ohio, all over the place. Okay, so I can just see a little, it's probably a hair there. So we've got nice crisp edges because we've offloaded the brush as much as we can. And now we can go on. Now, if you are going to, because I'm going to do this other welcome sign in a minute, if you missed that, I'm going to try and do a magic trick over here and make my welcome sign go through a hydrangea wreath. Stay tuned for that one. But I'm going to use that paintbrush in a minute. So if you want to make sure that your paintbrush doesn't dry out in between coats, because I'll be using that black again, pop it into a plastic bag. Make sure it's really wrapped tight over the bristles. And it'll be good for your next use. Okay, yes, there should, it will show, if you're watching the replay, it won't have the little red live symbol at the top of the video. So we've got that live at the top if you're live. And if you're watching the replay, that won't be there. So if you do watch the replay, comment the word replay for a chance to win prizes. All right, so what we need for transfers is this tool that will come with it. Or if you don't have your tool or you've lost it, you can use one of those store cards that looks like a credit card and just use that. But we're going to be using that for rubbing our transfer onto the board. Okay, so what we've got here is a sticky transfer under here and the white plastic backing right here. So let's go, we'll take that off. Now you want to put it exactly where you want it, because once it's down, it's a bit hard to remove because the transfer starts to stick to the board. Okay, so I want it right there. I think I've got that centered. We've got a line that's looking wobbly there, but that's meant to be. So now what we want to do is just rub that transfer really well. I've got some grooves in my board here, so that sometimes can make it a bit tricky. I'm going to rub all over, and then we'll go back and sort of see where we can peel it, start to peel it up. It's such a cute car. Okay, so now we're going to start to peel this. You can see the transfer plastic is on the back here. And I'm going to start to peel that back, and I can see I'm looking for, oh, it's not going to do it, which is great. I'm looking for the transfer that gets stuck onto here. We don't want it to stick onto there, which is the purpose of us rubbing it. But if you see it start to lift off, just go back, rub it over again, and start to peel back. I can see on some of the edges it's trying to lift up, but this one's working really well. It really does depend a lot on the weather or the, sometimes it depends on the surface that you are transferring onto. But see how the Essential Stencil transfers really lend well to just mixing with their stencils to create beautiful artwork on your signs, on your stenciled signs. If you've never used transfers before, or you've never used stencils before, let us know in the comments. I always love to know if we've got some brand new people on here who've never done transfers before, or if you've never done stenciling before. And my best tips for stenciling is to offload your brush and practice on a piece of cardboard first. So if you're really nervous about, oh, whether my sign's going to turn out right. And so also these are just simply plywood, really cheap cuts of wood. You might have some scrap wood lying around the place that you could practice on also. And the truth is, if you've just used paint to stencil on, you can always sand it back, paint over the surface and start again. Okay, so you see how that's all rubbing off now until you're left with nothing on the clear plastic topping. It sounds like we're making dessert. Okay, there we go. Connie, you've never done transfers. Cheryl, you've never used it before. Cheryl, you're also waiting not patiently for your new stencils. I think everybody is. I think they ship out next week. So exciting, you'll be able to use them. Then I just sort of rub over that. So see, there's no little remnants left on our clear plastic. You just sort of rub over the transfer with my fingers. You can seal the whole project in the end if you like. I would usually just use a normally a flat matte sealer. I like the Fusion one for that. But guys, if you want to share this project, now I didn't mention earlier, and I forgot my little sign, but you can use my code IRestoreStuff or use any of the links on here to get 10% off anything. It's 10% off the transfers. Even while they're on sale in the bundle, you get 10% off that as well. 10% off this. You know, anything that I've used today that's from Essential Stencil, that includes the brushes, guys. Load up with your brushes. So 10% off using my code IRestoreStuff. That is, my business name is IRestoreStuff. And so you can check me out on all of the platforms using the @IRestoreStuff, and you'll find me there. Let me see if I can just pop that down here and work now with our next transfer and stencil idea, which is to try and make this welcome sign jump through the hoop of hydrangeas. Can we do it? That is the question. So I'm going to give it a go. So you might have noticed I've got a little plastic Ziploc bag here. Now what I did was, you know, all of your transfers will come in these gorgeous packets. Let me just show you the farm one. They'll come in your gorgeous packets like this, but once I've cut out a few of them, it gets a bit tricky to put them all back in. And so I just cut them all up. So I've got all of my hydrangea transfers inside here, and then I cut the packaging so that I know what's on the front of it, and I've got a whole packet of hydrangeas to just, you know, simply take them out. We've got little leaves on there. We've got gorgeous buckets on that set filled with hydrangeas. There's even a bucket. Oh, there's a big one. That's cute, isn't it? There's even an empty bucket in there where you can fill your own bucket with the hydrangeas. So gorgeous ideas in there. And so that's how I just sometimes will package mine so that it's easier for me to sort of sort through and look at. Let's have a look at this set. Now this is welcome. I think we had limited quantities of these too, so if you want to grab these, I forgot to have a look at how many there are in stock, but use my code IRestoreStuff. Oops, the end has come apart. Let's just undo it here. It comes with the welcome, a hello, and a gather. So we'll take that out so you can have a look. We'll be using the welcome one, and then we have gather. Of course, we have our instructions for stenciling right here that are helpful tips, and then we have hello. So very cute handwritten font that you can order using my code IRestoreStuff, or use the link that I've got in the description of the live. All right, for this one, I'm going to try and make this go through the hoop. So I've got a board here that's just painted in white. It's hard to see the stencil against that, but it'll all be revealed as I paint it, because we'll do part of the stencil first. Then I've got to put down my wreath, hydrangea wreath. So I've kind of worked out, where am I going to put this? And then we put the stencil down again and do the rest of the word. That's my plan. Let's see if we can do it. I love that you guys are here with me for the ride as we experiment and just try things, try new things. Now, I did have some painter's tape here. Where has it gone? Oh my goodness. Oh, right here. What I am going to remove, and so if you don't want to use a part of the stencil, just use a bit of painter's tape to tape it off. So what I'm not going to use is that line underneath. I want these hydrangeas to really feature as the flourish. So all I need to do is get a bit of painter's tape and tape right across that whole line underneath, and that should work well to just do that. Okay, so I've got my whiteboard here, and I just cut out these boards randomly, but if you wanted to, you know, the size of the stencil is, ideally, your board probably could be the size of the actual Mylar plastic. They're really good quality, very thick, and so they last a long time. Reuse them over and over again. It's 16 inches by 7 inches. 16 by 7 board would work well, but mine's probably longer and it's shorter this way. But it works well for the welcome, and it'll work great for the wreath. Now, I'm not sure yet where I'm going to pop that wreath, but I do love experimenting. Taping is key, yeah. We're here for the ride, hey? I love trying new things, and so often it is on our lives that we get to try these things. So I've taped mine down either end of the board. I'm doing this upside down. Now, what I don't know is the hydrangea going to be see-through enough to be able to still recognize that this is an M here if I pop it here, and I'm going to put it underneath the C. So we're going to see if the stenciling, you know, oh no, it's going to be over the top and it's going to go through. Guys, I think I've got this. Maybe I should put a little bit of tape right here. So here's what I'm going to do first. I know that my word is going to be inside this gap here, around about the O. So I could probably stencil up to the O. Let me do that. I'll put a little bit of tape to remind me not to go any further, but I'm trying not to go up to that line because I don't want a hard line right here. I'm going to get my black stencil brush. Okay, so I've got some paint on my brush. I'm not sure if you can see that. This is just a random piece of cardboard that I use to offload. I literally just cut up a cardboard box. You can use cereal boxes or whatever. So I've got enough paint on my brush to where it's almost dry. Now I'm going to stencil the word welcome just up to here to see if my experiment works with making the hydrangea go through the loop. So what we're going to see is this hydrangea will be on top of the word and this part will be underneath the stencil. That's the plan anyway. Let's see how well it works out. I'll be interested to see how well, because I have used stencils on top of transfers before, and that would sort of depend on your quality of paint that you use. Fusion's pretty good at fusing to most surfaces, and so I'm hoping that it works well. I'm so glad that we're inspiring you. We enjoy it. Don't forget, you can get this welcome set. I'm not sure how many there are left, but this will be in the description of the live. This welcome, gather, hello, gather, welcome is the name of the set. Use my code, I restore stuff, and get 10% off. Okay, so I'm just going to the end of the O, but I don't want to have a hard line where that tape is. So I'm just going to pop that off to the side and make sure I get the rest of this O, but we will come back to it. And we're sort of just feathering that end there. So when we come back, we'll join that up once we've put our wreath down. Yeah, I was looking at the whole hydrangea transfer set, which is just absolutely gorgeous. I've got all the links to that in our description of the live. So many different things you can use that for. And when I saw this little wreath, I thought, hey, I wonder if this would work. So now, what to do next? I will just hit this with the hairdryer to make sure it's super dry before I'm taking it right off, because we can line it up again once we've got that transfer down. So I will pop this over here and I'll let you just look at that while I just hit this with the hairdryer. That's what I did earlier. So if you did miss our first part of the live, you can go back and watch the replay. Yes, Sue's saying that the ladies doing the crafting on our lives, yes, we are all ambassadors for Essential Stencil. So we all go live about once a week. So every weeknight you'll see someone live doing some crafting here on the Essential Stencil Facebook page. Okay, so we've got half a word on here. We've got nice crisp lines because we made sure we offloaded. I'm feeling nervous for myself. I'm hoping this idea works. All right, so this is going to go probably over the sea. So I'm hoping sometimes these transfers are a little bit translucent, so you can see through them a little bit. I'm just hoping the whole word welcome, you can kind of, you know how when words are covered up, you can still kind of see what they mean. That's the idea I'm hoping for. All right, so it's going to go past the O. Let's do this. Let's get it off and do this idea. Yes, Bonnie, these hydrangeas are beautiful. If you haven't tried the transfers yet, just watch how easy they are to use. Yeah, I'm just thinking, I just try to find all of the sort of words like this that would make them pop through. There might be some nice spring ones there too. Some of you might have ordered that welcome sign. Okay, I'm concentrating. I'm going to pop it over the sea and just sort of look as if hopefully you can still tell that it's a sea. What about this way? Oh, now that I can see through it, maybe I'll just pop the O a little bit further this way and the C on top. See how you can just kind of move it around, but don't place it down yet, because once it's down, it's down. Let me just turn it around. Am I shaking? Okay. Maybe I'll pop it in there. Look, let's just whack it down. You can try. I just don't want it to look like an O now that I've covered that up. Just do it, Sharon. I've done it. That's where it's going to be, folks. Okay, we're going to use this little tool here that comes with your transfers. I can breathe. Look, if it doesn't work out, we can just sand off the whole board and start again. But you can get the idea of where I'm going with this. I'm going to rub that really well all the way down, as I did with that little green car from the St. Patrick's Day set, which you can still get some of those. Oh, good. I've got some reassurance. Some people think you could cut some of it away so the sea will show. Yeah, you could do that. I kind of wanted this idea. See, I can actually see it. So the transfers are just slightly translucent, so you do see through them. And it also helps those edges to blend into the background of your wood piece. So it honestly looks like someone's hand painted these beautiful hydrangeas. Okay, so let's see if we can lift the edge here and start to remove the top part, the top plastic, without getting it. Sometimes it helps to, if you've just painted your board, to just sand it off with a really fine grit, like a 400, and that might make your surface a little bit more smooth for the transfers to rub off on. Yes, we're making magic here. Making magic happen. They are so pretty. Look, I'm going to have to turn my board around because I'm working with my right hand and holding it with my left hand. It wasn't working as well that way. As we lift it, we're just looking for any little pieces that might have stuck to the plastic and that aren't coming off. And as we go around, and then, must have had some black paint just sitting on the top of my plastic. I thought that was part of my sign, but it's all good. Okay, once we've got this off, oh, that came off rather smoothly today. Sometimes you have to really work at it. Oh, beautiful. Can you see where we're going with this? And I'll show you that sea. You can still see the sea. You can see the sea through, see through the sign. Okay, let's see if we can finish this off by placing now. Danielle, can't wait to what essential, yeah, can't wait to see what their next stencil will be for summer. We've only just gotten spring, Danielle, and people are now expectantly waiting for their spring stencils to arrive. I think they're shipping next week, so everybody's keen for those. All right, so I've literally just placed my stencil back down exactly where the welcome is. Now I can finish off the M and go over the top. So we're going to see if this fusion paint sticks well to the transfer itself. I have done this before and I'm pretty sure we had good results then. So just getting my brush out of the plastic bag so that it didn't dry out, and offloading onto my piece of cardboard. Hi Linda. Thank you Sharon. I hope it works out well. Yeah, it was a good idea, and then I thought, what if it doesn't work? But it seems to be working okay. I'm just going to stand up to lean over here. Okay, so we're going over the top now of our stencil. We've offloaded the brush as much as we can, and we've feathered that O, so I'm just going to gently go over it, and it should be fine to just, you know, we've joined that and there's not sort of a harsh gap there. If you did want to do a second coat to give the black better coverage, then you would have to have done that before you put your hydrangea, because I can see that hydrangea through there. We don't want to go back over a second coat on that first part now because we've already put our transfer down. So I wonder if there's some other ideas that you might be able to think of that you could do this same idea with some transfer behind coming through. Everyone's going to be going looking at their transfer sets now to see what ideas they could come up with, going through letters in or behind, in front of, that kind of thing. Got myself thinking, but I do want to maybe just go over this part where the hydrangea is. Just hit that with a little bit of hairdryer to make sure it's super dry. Okay. Just going over that again. Oops, I can't remember if I just had offloaded my brush now, and just going over where that went on top of the hydrangea to make it stand out a bit more. Just remember, I don't want to go over that part because that's where the hydrangea is. And there's some green leaf poking through there. Right, but we can go over this bit a little bit more. Okay, the final reveal. Are you ready? Don't forget to use my code IRestoreStuff to get 10% off anything in the Essential Stencil shop. There it is, my plastic bag I was looking for, in case I do some more in a minute after our live. But I will be going through and checking your questions. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. I usually go through afterwards. Let's see how that worked out. Are we ready? And then I'll show you my other project. If you missed the beginning, go watch the replay because I did a fun one with the St. Patrick's Day stencil set. No, transfer set using the car, and I made a Father's Day sign. Okay, are you ready? There we go. Look how it goes through. So we've got the welcome coming through the wreath. It kind of worked. It kind of worked okay. So there you go. You could add some more hydrangeas down at the beginning of the welcome sign if you wanted, or if that looks enough, then we could frame it, hang it, whatever you want to do, or sit it on a mantle, sit it on your table, something like that. I think that turned out pretty good. And I do like how you can still tell what the word says. Yay for that. So if you enjoyed this live, do share it with some friends. Hit that little share button, sprinkle the love around. Don't forget you can use my code IRestoreStuff and get 10% off anything and everything in the Essential Stencil store, including the St. Patrick's Day transfers. You can get those, or they come in a bundle with a whole bunch of stencils that you can get at a discounted price. So let me pop up the... Have a look at that sign in readiness for a Father's Day idea, and the welcome sign where we made the welcome jump through the hydrangea hoop. Alrighty, that's what we worked on today. If you missed any of that, go and catch the replay. gorgeous stencil set, and that's really large. That might look small in the distance, and then I've got this Farm Sweet Farm that I use the farm transfers with. So see all the different ways that you can add transfers, mix the stencils up with the transfers, and you've got yourself a great DIY project. I do see the winners now. Congratulations to Helen, to Crystal, and Maria. Congratulations, our winners tonight. And I will go through and make sure I don't miss any of your questions. But follow me at I Restore Stuff. That's at I Restore Stuff. You can follow my blog or at Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, all of the different places you can find me. I will see you next week for another fun DIY live. Hey, it's my birthday next week.